We're real excited for today's discussion on the media's role during this very polarizing time. Just so you know, today's program is the first in what's going to be a series, so be on the lookout for more programs on our America Divided series throughout the year. And for now, just please go ahead and enjoy your lunch. In a few minutes, CNN Vice President and Southeast Bureau Chief, as well as Atlanta Press Club board member Mary Lynn Ryan, is going to come up and say a few words and kick off the program. We're going to have a podium set up in the middle of the room with a microphone. It's not there yet, so we'll get it when the program starts, but we definitely want a lot of audience participation, and so we will look forward to your questions. We're real excited for today's discussion on the media's role during this very polarizing time. Just so you know, today's program is the first in what's going to be a series, so be on the lookout for more programs on our America Divided series throughout the year. And for now, just please go ahead and enjoy your lunch. In a few minutes, CNN Vice President and Southeast Bureau Chief, as well as Atlanta Press Club board member Mary Lynn Ryan, is going to come up and say a few words and kick off the program.
Questions from all of you in the audience. We just want to reiterate that this is not a political discussion and that we would like questions, please, no statements. Questions so we can keep the conversation going. I wanted to set this discussion up first with the piece, and then we'll introduce Celeste Headley, who is our great moderator today. So let's roll the tape, and then we'll introduce.
You on television, you're a real beauty.
Are you going to have anything to eat here at the state fair? Are you going to try some fried foods on the day?
Make me the fried foods, and that's my favorite kind of food.
I'm not running against crooked Hillary. I'm running against the crooked media.
Okay, who's next? Yeah, please. Excuse me, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down.
CNN is terrible. CNN. You with CNN? Good. You people do not cover us accurately.
They don't want to give it straight because the press are liars. They're terrible people. You know my opinion of the media. It's very low. I think the media is, frankly, not good people.
Next on C-SPAN, the daily White House press briefing. Press Secretary Sean
Spicer. New York Times, boom, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the travel ban on Muslims.
Yeah, it's not a ban.
I'm sorry?
It's not a ban. The travel ban is not a ban, which makes it not a ban.
But you just called it a ban.
Because I'm using your words. You said ban. Now I'm saying
The
it.
president tweeted, and I quote, if the ban were announced with a 1-week notice.
Yeah, he's quoting you. It's your words. He's using your words. When you use the words and he uses them back, it's circular using of the word, and that's for you. It's your word. Next, go.
Yeah, I'm also concerned about Steve Bannon. A lot of people are saying he's the one behind this Muslim ban.
Yeah, all right, you guys still aren't getting it.
Yeah, a Wall Street Journal. Are you okay?
Put you in the corner with CNN.
Can you give us a chance?
Your organization,
You are attacking our news organization.
Your organization,
Can you give us a
sir.
chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can you state, Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking a question.
Mr.
Don't be rude.
President-elect, can you give us a
Don't be rude.
attacking us? Can you give us a question?
Don't be
Can
rude.
you
No,
give
I'm
us a
not going to give you
question?
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir, can you state categorically that nobody... No, Mr. President-elect, that's not right.
Now, speaking of you and CNN and fake news, our president, the President of the United States, Commander-in-Chief, has called your network fake news, fraud, the worst, so biased, failing, unwatchable, a disgrace to the broadcasting industry, disgusting, phony reporting, unprofessional, bad television, and CNN can go to hell.
He certainly watches us a lot.
A little shout out to editor Johnny Hutchins and producers Chris Lett and Lauren Leslie for putting that video together for me over at CNN. So today we are delighted to have a fantastic group of award-winning journalists hosting and being on the panel today. Celeste Headley, who's our moderator, is a veteran and an award-winning Atlanta journalist who hosts GPB's Radio on Second Thought and has appeared on NPR, PBS, CNN, who's in the corner, BBC, and other networks. I want to welcome the enemy of the people, Celeste Headley. We're going to move the chairs in real quick here.
I just want to reiterate a couple things. We want to keep this moving as much as possible, and as you can understand, there's a great deal of ground to cover, which means we have to move on at a brisk pace. So I want to reemphasize that when you have a question, you should have a question mark at the end of it. David L.
Smiling.
Look, punditry is a part of the business, just like reporters are. And we all have to fight and market ourselves, if you will, to get our stuff on air. Too much, too little, I guess we let the market decide on that a little bit, but...
You don't think that's our responsibility to think about editorially? Or it should be just market-driven?
Do I think that it's...
Yeah, you.
Personally?
Yes.
Or does my network? Those are two very different things, potentially, right? I'm not saying that I disagree or agree with my... But I have my job to do, which is reporting. They look at it at a much higher level than perhaps I do, right? At a 50,000-foot view. And I think it is important that not just my voice gets out in the ether on whatever I'm reporting, but that a broad range of voices are heard by our viewers. And sometimes those are pundits' voices, and sometimes those are other reporters' voices.
Question?
My name is Philippa Meester, and I'm a journalist, and I began reporting in South Africa when it was still a police state, and there were very, very tight limits on what the press could report. And yet we managed to do a lot of really good journalism exposing conditions in the country. And I think that is one area where, given, I think it goes beyond fact-checking. I think there needs to be a lot more, when something is said that is clearly wrong, instead of just fact-checking it, I wonder if you don't think that it would be better to do an in-depth analysis. If we're talking about jobs, if we're talking about racism, if you're talking about crime in Chicago, real in-depth facts presented to people so that they can understand what the situation is and make up their own minds. And that is where I think, with all due respect, without making a comment, I think CNN has fallen down.
That sounds like a comment.
There's a lot of who's up and who's down in the political context instead of an analysis of the facts.
So then let you respond to that, David.
It's okay. I don't need to. I don't think CNN is alone in that.
No, but here's the question for me, which comes off what she's saying. And this is a problem that we are facing, certainly at NPR, and I assume you are as well. The sheer number of falsehoods is impossible for us to cover in an in-depth way. We can't stop the presses, pardon the outdated pun, every single time to say, whoa, they just said this, because 30 seconds later that surrogate is going to say something else that's untrue as well. How do we do what she's talking about that has served our industry so well in the past where this is Niagara Falls of falsehoods?
As the questioner was just saying, it's not just about fact-checking, it is about the broader reporting too. I will say, our network had just a tremendously, still ongoing, but very successful, robust reporting on this Russia relationship with Trump and what is going on. Everything from reporting on the intelligence briefings that the intel chiefs went up to New York when he was president-elect, and that President-elect Trump and President Obama received about the dossier and the descriptions thereof, and continued reporting, staying on it with, as the New York Times was reporting as well, that there were constant contacts between Trump campaign officials. That is robust, in-depth, thoroughly vetted, fully sourced in multiple directions kind of reporting that illuminates for the country a really important piece of this. Now, I can't say that about every single one of the issues you ticked off. Obviously, we can't do it all on every single issue. But to me, I don't think CNN has given an inch on a full dedication and commitment to that kind of robust reporting.
We only have a few minutes left. Question.
Hi, I'm Ricky Klaus, and I'm a reporter at Channel 2 Action News here in Atlanta. And my question is, what is your advice on being the best reporter or journalist you can be in this current climate, and also keeping yourself personally sane and healthy?
Well, we already know what Richard's...
Everybody over to my place.
Richard drinks bourbon and watch Riverdance.
Bring your clogs. It's going to be a party.
It's quite a combo.
Cam or David L? Staying sane.
Well, that assumes that I am. So, but I would say, you go to the facts. You write a story. When I write a story, the editors make sure that every fact in it is correct, and it is grilled, and it is an intense process, and it goes out there into the world. And that's what I was doing before President Trump, and that's what I'll be doing while he's president. So, for however long that is. So I don't. That's what you got to just hold
lately?
to. Yeah.
You've done the gambling on.
Yeah, I'm not going to bet on it.
Yeah. Okay. One more question.
Okay. My name is Mariela Romero. I am with Univision, and I am from Venezuela. So I have a lot of things that are reminiscent of things that happened. It started to happen in my country 16 years ago. My question is about. I have so many things, but one question is, do we listen to each other? Because I have experienced this here. When I have something that I see in my community, in the Hispanic community here in Atlanta, and I want the mainstream media, the general market media, how we call it, to pay attention to because it is a violation of civil rights, people say, oh, call Mundo Hispánico, which is the newspaper in Spanish. And I say, this needs to be heard by everybody. So my point is, it's not only about diverse media or ethnic media, what it's called, but also when I first came to this country and I started listening to talk radio, and I heard Rush Limbaugh calling us, Univision, as the Mexican station, which is not true because there is a foreign entity cannot broadcast in the United States, but his listening audience thinks that we are a foreign entity.
I'm gonna cut you off here really quick because we only have a couple minutes left. But this, one of the things she is talking about is diversity, and we can't escape the fact that our 4 panelists are 4 white guys. So are we? Look, that's just how it is. Look. So. Do we have a problem taking seriously issues that are going on in communities that we don't traditionally listen to? Do we put more emphasis on stories that historically have been important to what was mostly a white and mostly a male industry?
I think it is important that we get out into the communities. You know, we talked about local reporting and some of the impact that budget cuts and other things are having in those communities. And I think it is incumbent upon all of us to get out into the different communities and report on those stories. Immigration is one story, but income inequality and you name it are other stories. And I think getting out there and talking to people in those communities only makes us better reporters.
Mm-hmm. And taking, you're nodding your head, so I assume you agree.
Yeah, I just think a diversified newsroom across all kinds, race, gender, geographic diversity, education diversity, socioeconomic diversity. I think a more diverse newsroom undoubtedly provides more complete and diverse storytelling.
Perspective.
Okay, we are about out of time. I want to say thank you to all of you. I want to say a special thank you to our panelists, David Chalian, CNN political director. Richard Fawcett is the New York Times, a New York Times national correspondent. There's only one. David Lukowitz is a producer for Fox News, and Cam McWhirter, political reporter for the Wall Street Journal.
Thank you.
So thank you guys, and a big hand to Celeste Headley with NPR. So she did an awesome job. And again, thank you to all of these guys. We continue to try to do these discussions. We're going to have other panels, Lori. We're working on more. Perhaps maybe Martin Savage will join us talking about the Trump voters. A lot of you guys have to cover who the Trump voters are and why they still are behind the president and what it means, what he's going to do for them. So we're going to continue to work ahead to try to come up with some of those. As we know now, journalism is more important now than ever, and for us to stick together and support each other. A reminder that the Atlanta Press Club is such an organization. You can join the organization, and we appreciate the support to help the causes that we support as well as the journalists.